So let's jump into the main topic for today, Greg. So this week we're going to be discussing our favorite tech of the year. And Greg, I thought we'll take turns on this and just go down the list. So I'll start off and give you an example of what I meant by big and small, right? Because when we consider tech, people usually think about the phones and the TVs and the computers and things like that. So my first one is actually a new piece of tech that I picked up on Black Friday for it was like 50% off. Really good deal, so I jumped on it. And I talked about my little home, my little house here that I bought when I was pretty young. Wasn't expecting a big family, definitely wasn't expecting grandchildren. But I talked about how we use wall mounts. I always have trouble saying that. Wall mounts to save space, right? To save shelf space instead of having a big TV stand taking up 3 to 5 feet into the room. We like to wall mount the television. This week I got a Echo Dot ceiling mount, and it right up in the corner of the ceiling, takes up no space. The wires, of course, are running through the attic and plugging into the same location where I have my security cameras powered, and no wires, zero shelf space, zero counter space, and it's pretty awesome. So check out our short this week. I did a short about it, and also too, we'll include a link to where I purchased it. Maybe it's still on sale. So that was my first pick.
Cool. Uh, so my theme going through these is going to be tech that everybody goes, well, that wasn't new this year,
Yeah.
because this was my year to do a bunch of upgrading. But my number one, I think, is MagSafe. Mag
Yes.
all the safes, right? I
Yeah.
just want
Right.
everything to be a magnet. I look at my iPad Mini and I look at these MagSafe stands that I have, and I go, why can't I just let my iPad Mini snap onto
Right.
these stands
In
and
charge.
go in there? So it's changed a ton of stuff, and so yeah, I'm all in on MagSafe. I have it in the car, I have it in my office, I have it on my
Hmm.
nightstand, and I have it in my trailer, and it's just mag MagSafe all the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree with you on that, and I knew you were gonna like it. So I'm glad you got one where it actually holds the phone in place instead of it sitting on like a dock, like the Mac one you sent me. Really cool. Kind of bulky, but really cool idea. I think it was overpriced, but it was an old Macintosh computer, but it was
Yeah,
a iPhone stand.
yeah.
Really, really cool. I like that. So the second one on my list is my Legend of Zelda themed Switch back here, along with Tears of the Kingdom that was released. So despite me wearing and owning probably 30, I want to say it's literally maybe like 27 Fallout shirts. I have like a run of shirts, and then I have like duplicates of that, then long sleeve versions of some of these shirts. I love Fallout, but my number one favorite gaming franchise is The Legend of Zelda, right? And this year, Tears of the Kingdom came out, and they had a special edition controller and Switch and all of these different accessories. So, um, yeah, that's still one of my favorite pieces of tech this year, and still my favorite gaming series of all time. So, and yeah, it's awesome. If you hadn't played it, hopefully you've been good enough, and Santa will bring you one this year. But you should play it. It is really a great game. Even though I'm playing Fallout again, you know, the 15 or 20 minutes I have in the evening, I jump on and do my daily operations and stuff like that. It's on Fallout, but yeah, I don't know. I love them both.
My number two is the Snoopy watch face. It just
Yep.
is. And I sent you a couple of screenshots on Thanksgiving. They had specific ones. I've started to pin this down when I've got the water lock on. At
Hmm.
least once while the water lock's on, Snoopy will be in a snorkel or have a snorkel and fins and is diving down. And I also noticed that when I have it in theater mode, because that's what I do for church, because I put it in
Hmm.
theater mode, that it'll pop up at
Right.
least one, him sitting in the theater with the popcorn and the seats and all that kind of stuff. And
Nice.
so I'm
I didn't
excited.
realize that it changed that much. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do for Christmas as a holiday too. So it's changed how I use my watch, right? I mean, I used to
Yes.
have as many complications on the watch face as I could get. And now I don't. I swipe up to see the weather, and that's so it's changed. It's simplified my usage of the watch. My
Right.
watch is still my favorite. So, but it's
Yeah.
simplified my usage of the watch.
Right. And I think that was the point, right? Because I found myself, I told you, I fell back into using that modular one because it gives you even more information at a glance, right? I want to see when the rain is coming and the temperature and things like that. But yeah, whenever I would switch back to either the photo, a watch face or the Snoopy one, yeah, it changes the way you use the watch. So yeah, I agree with you. It is a good watch face, and it's entertaining to see uh, all of these new watch faces pop up. So my next one is Greg. You know I'm frugal, right? And I say frugal. I don't want to say cheap. I don't
You're
want to say the
deliberate.
C word.
You
Yeah.
deliberately decide how to spend your money.
So I had been spending all of this time buying these cheap Amazon, import keyboards, uh, just to save some money. Even the one I have for my setup right now that I'm using right now for the show, it's the bottom half of a Surface Pro, right? That keyboard, and it works fine. I like the build quality on it. It doesn't feel like the cheap Amazon ones, right? It's half of a Microsoft product, right? I don't have the Surface, but I just have the keyboard, and it works fine for for my setup here. Light, really sturdy keyboard. But after you and I had a conversation earlier this year, and you were telling me about the Magic trackpad that you were using, or what do they call it? The
Yeah.
the trackpad,
Yeah.
and you mentioned that you had the Magic keyboard and stuff before for your iPads, and you were just telling me like it was really good. You didn't have any issues with it, so went ahead and bit the very expensive bullet and got the actual Apple Magic keyboard for my iPad Pro,
With the
and
trackpad?
with the
That's like
trackpad
a
on it.
what is that? A 200?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Don't remind me. Don't remind me. But I wanted to have it one because we were really picking up on the show. I needed to be more mobile, right? To be able to add my notes and things like that. And I don't regret that purchase. The build quality on it, the way the keys are, it's just no comparison. Even to the Microsoft Surface keyboard, it is no comparison. That is the best keyboard for the iPad that you can buy. Now, there's people with other use cases or their preference to how the keys feel and stuff like that because I see a lot of complaints about the keys or whatever. But as far as me, um, it's way better than a $15
Yeah.
Amazon import. I'll tell you that much. So it is a really good keyboard. Uh, my Surface keyboard is wider, so if you're like me and you, we have big hands or whatever. It's easier to type on. That one's more compact, but it still feels better. It's better quality, and the trackpad works differently. It's more sensitive, more able. You're able to control it better. So that's my pick. This year was my Magic Keyboard for my iPad Pro.
Now, rumor has it Apple's going to launch a new Magic Keyboard next year, and
Right, with the bigger trackpad.
it potentially may be more laptop like, which is what I would like.
Okay,
I mean, I love that keyboard, but my MacBook is sitting in front of me with no keyboard in front of it. I like the keyboard
right.
on the MacBook, and I always have liked laptop keyboards. So what I would like for the
Mhm.
12.9-inch iPad is the keyboard to be able to sit on my lap stable, right? And
Right.
those super super thin ones that they have, they're designed for portability and all of that kind of
Yeah.
stuff with the cantilever and all those kinds of things. Okay, fine. But I that's what the old remember the bridge, right? BRYDGE, and
Yes.
apparently they're no longer bankrupt. So but I
Okay.
the rumor is Apple may be coming out with a style of keyboard like that, which
Okay.
I gotta say, and I was listening to Connected, I think the other day, and Federico was saying, why don't they just make it a USB hub and put HDMI and a couple of A ports and some stuff
Wow.
like that?
Wouldn't that be?
And I just
Yes.
got thinking. He said he gave a number. He said I'd be willing to pay like $400 for
Oh,
something like
not
that.
me.
Well, but if I think about it's 250 for the keyboard to start with, if it's going to be laptop style, if it's basically the bottom half of my MacBook with the iPad
Right.
on top, I
Right.
probably would pay that because then I don't have to have this dock. I don't have to worry about any extra stuff that I want to plug into it. That would make it
Hmm.
easier to record from the iPad because, in theory, hopefully they would support multiple inputs at
Right.
the same
Right.
time.
Yeah.
So, anyway, yeah, if they come out with something like that, I'll be curious to see. But yeah, I mean, fault them with the exception of what did they call the fine woven cases this year and
Hmm.
fine woven watch bands and stuff like that. Apple's build quality is just going to be better than anything else
Yes.
out there. Now, it may not be worth it to
Mhm.
you for the price, but it's going to be higher quality.
Yeah. Yeah. It is, and the functionality is going to work perfectly with
Yeah.
whatever device you're pairing it with. So
Yep.
I'll be off. I would be for something like that if the price tag is not too hefty. But like you said, with that build quality and the features that they jam into that thing, if it's going to be, and the bridge one was more like a hinge laptop kind of
Yeah.
thing, right? It made your iPad into basically a MacBook,
Yeah.
and that was the appeal and that people loved about it. So good to see that company pull through. Maybe they'll jump on the next iterations of these
Yeah.
products and start releasing more keyboards. So.
All right. My number 3, iPhone 15 Pro Max camera.
Right,
Because
right,
you've seen some of these pictures, and I took a picture the other day and I posted it on my
yeah,
personal Instagram. I think I might have posted it on the channel, but you really need to follow us on Instagram because you'll see some of this stuff. But I took a picture. There was this massive moon out, and
hmm,
it was big enough and bright enough that the camera had a little bit of problem with it. But I live right next to the freeway, and it just so happened that I timed the shot just right, and it's night mode, which takes 3 seconds to
yeah,
expose this, right? So this was not me doing it, not me doing anything other than using the out of box settings and functionality of that camera. And
yeah,
Jason goes, "How did you get it to do that?" I'm like,
yeah,
"I don't
yeah.
know." But it was really cool.
Yeah, I thought it was some kind of setting that I that I missed or something like that. Really cool. There was another one you sent. I was like, wow, it looks like the sky is on fire.
Yeah.
Like it picked up every detail of every cloud. And yeah, so I'm adding that to my list. I don't have an iPhone 15 Pro Max, but that camera is one of my favorite things
Well, and then you saw, so I
of
mean
the year.
it's got the 5X, and I don't know if, did I post the tarantula picture on our thing? I don't think I did, but um anyway, the I took a picture of the tarantula when I was out on that
Yep.
ride, right? And I took it on 5X, but you can see the hairs
Yeah.
on that
Yeah.
spider, and it's a live photo. So if you tap and hold on it, that thing is still crawling, which is really creepy. But man, you can see every detail on that, even at 5X, which isn't going to be the greatest
Right.
resolution wise.
Right.
So, and now they've said that on the 15, there's a setting where you can enable spatial video that'll be playable in 3D on the Vision Pro.
Right.
So
Oh, so that got enabled finally.
I think it's in the point 0.2 beta.
Okay. So that's coming soon. Yeah.
Yep.
That's I'm looking forward to that too because it's gonna should translate over to other devices.
Yeah.
Once people get their hands on it and work around with it a little bit, we may be able to see that well before we get the Vision Pro. So fingers crossed on that. My next thing is my HomeKit garage door opener, right? And I've had several that I liked, and they all had their issues, right? But the main issue was I had to use the manufacturer's app, right? And they were seriously bad apps, right? They create the garage door opener, right? These are garage door manufacturing companies, right, or tool companies, and app development is an afterthought, and you can tell in some of those apps. So I always hated that. That was the number one problem. The next problem was just the connectivity. It was always they were always losing connectivity, right? The number one thing you want out of these smart devices, like I mentioned earlier with these smart plugs, you want to hit open, you want the door to open. You don't want some kind of error, you don't want timeout, you don't want log in again or you logged out. That was another thing too with the manufacturer's app. It was always constantly just randomly logging you out, right? So you're pulling in the driveway, you want to hit the button like an old school garage door opener and open the door. Well, I'm hitting it on my phone and it's saying, okay, go ahead and log in. Okay, now we sent you a link. We sent you a link to your email. Tap on that and we'll log you in, right? It was a two-factor authentication. So, uh, long story to say this, I upgraded to an HomeKit. HomeKit enabled garage door opener, totally bypass the manufacturer app and the hassle with that, and it's been great. Right? It still has some issues that I'm working through that I don't like. Um, I mentioned to you too. I feel a little insecure sometimes because I don't know if if it's as secure as it says it is, but it's in HomeKit. So, um, but number one thing, it opens when I say open and it closes when I say close. So, and it's within the Apple ecosystem. So, you know,
Yeah. I mean, the
I like
reality
it.
is if they're close enough that they could open your garage door and walk in, they're close enough that they could just break in another
Right.
way too,
Right.
right? So,
Yeah, yeah, and that's how I kind of got over my fear too. Someone came in before, they stole a bunch of my tools and stuff. I just bought them over again.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not that I want to do that every year, anyways. I do make an effort to protect myself and my property, but it's not the end of the world if something like that happens. So that's my pick.
So my next one is going to be the iPhone 15 Pro Max screen. That
Yeah,
because I hadn't had. I remember I was on a 12, right? So I mean, there's just so much in
right.
this phone that I got. That new screen with the advanced display, the ProMotion, the refresh
Hmm.
rate, the everything is just incredible. And it's if I look at that and I look at my this screen on this new MacBook, right?
Hmm.
The new version of the liquid retina display stuff, it's just
Yeah,
unreal. I mean,
yeah.
I look at I've
It's
got a big
fun to look at,
yeah, I've
right?
got an IBM ThinkVision 27-inch monitor sitting in front of me, and I put the video up on that, and it looks one way, and then I put it down on my MacBook screen, and I go,
Right. The colors are different. Like,
"Whoa!" So yeah, so
yeah.
anyway, so that would be mine. That screen. I mean, the phone's just an amazing device, and I knew it would be, having not upgraded for 3 years. So,
Right, right. So that brings us to my next one, which is really not really, it is because it was basically the same experience you had. So my next one on the list is my iPhone 14 Pro Max, right? The entire thing. I was coming from 11 Pro, and yeah, it was a huge upgrade for me at the time. Love the screen, love the camera, love the battery life. The battery life on this thing was crazy. And another crazy thing is the battery life wasn't bad on the 11 Pro,
right.
right? It still was a really good battery life. It still was getting me through most of the day with my tasks. But now this thing is just like almost like I'm not using it at all, right? It is truly all day battery life, and that was on there, and I was really enjoying it until September when the 15 Pro Max was was released. But still, it still is one of my favorite devices.
Yeah.
I still love the thing. It's a generation behind already, but we're still talking about an excellent device. You
Yeah.
know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
honestly, unless you wanted the camera upgrades, the 5x zoom and the
Yeah,
advanced stabilization and stuff like that, there was no need.
yeah,
Or the action
yeah.
button, right? And the action button's fine. It needs more flexibility to get more use.
Hmm.
But honestly, I don't think if I wasn't doing like some of my daily study and stuff with my phone, I don't know that I'd use the action button that much. So
Right, right. Yeah, and still, it's still my favorite design because it reminds me so much of my favorite, which was the iPhone 4S, right? The glass back and the square edges and all of that. So it's still my favorite design iPhone. I wasn't happy with the colors or the style of the 15, so it's still on my list. The iPad may sound weird because it's my favorite device that didn't make the list, and that's because I'm just so frustrated
yeah,
with the battery life. I'm so frustrated. I'm still. We talked about being tethered to that old phone cord when you're when we were younger, and I'm still tethered to a charger with this iPad. Nothing else. My watch, I can go several days. I left the house the other day, forgot to charge my watch. I left the house driving down my road to be out all day, and the warning came on. Do you want to turn on low power mode? Didn't turn on low power mode, and still made it back to the house with charge on my Apple Watch.
yeah,
Now, okay, that's a smaller device. You talked about your MacBook, which is a really powerful device, this thing is not even in the same realm when it comes to battery life, and it has to be whatever they did with this M2 chip, and whatever other piece of hardware that they have in here, but something is just killing this battery, and I'm not happy with it. So it
Well,
didn't make the list.
we're going to talk about iPads in the post show. So
Right, right.
it's
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
on my
So you'll hear me
list.
rant about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to rant too. But okay, so my last one, I debated between two. Um,
Hmm.
standby mode has been great. I'm not going to make that my last pick.
Yeah.
But I'm really only using it as an alarm clock, as a nightstand
Okay.
clock in both here
Yeah.
and the trailer. Here in my office, I almost, I mean, yes, I like to be able to just plunk my phone onto the MagSafe charger and have it sit there,
Hmm.
but something's going on. I need to either tweak it or something's going on. It doesn't rotate through pictures like I'd like it to. Like it only chooses one category of pictures to try and rotate through. And I would just rather have it rotate through. Frankly, it could just rotate through all my pictures
Okay.
and I'd
Do you
be,
have like a certain album selected, maybe?
it's got nature, it's got certain things you can add albums, but like sometimes when I've
Okay.
said here rotate through people, it'll pick the first picture and it'll do its little zoom thing and then like it's going to
Hmm.
switch to the next one and it'll go to the same picture and do the zoom thing again.
Same
And
picture.
so anyway, it's just not been as useful, but I do love it, the nightstand mode on my nightstand, or standby on my nightstand and stuff like that, just like I did my watch when I wasn't doing sleep tracking with my
Right.
watch. That's what I love there. So my final one, I really want to say it's Apple Silicon because I've not had an Apple Silicon iPad, nor have I had an Apple Silicon Mac.
Hmm.
But this MacBook has just been fantastic, right? And Apple Silicon enables all of this stuff. It enables the battery life. It makes the
Yeah.
screen be useful because it can actually get that kind of resolution and display and that kind of stuff for 20 hours or
Hmm.
so. So yeah, I think that's my final pick is Apple Silicon, the MacBook, however you want to say it. I love the black color on this one. I was thinking about this the other day when I was sitting in church running the Zoom meeting and looking at this and going, yeah, it's dark like I'd like it to be, and
Right.
all that kind of stuff. And the part of me says I still just want to be on an iPad, but I can't go wrong with this machine, right? I mean, it's doing
Yeah.
everything that I need it to do from a work standpoint. I like to sit down and work on it. I like to take it places and work on it. So definitely more so than I did my previous MacBook, which I would look for any way to do something besides on that MacBook. And
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
if you could just replace the monitor part of this MacBook with an iPad that I could pop on and off and it was running iPad OS and could do all my stuff, I'd be perfectly happy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay.